All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Daly City Small Business Commission to order. Today's date is September 11th, 2025, and the time is 7:02. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Let's go ahead and do the roll call.
Commissioner Bautista,
Here.
Vice Chair Peña Cerrada,
Present.
and Chair Amro.
Here.
Great.
All right, so today we have a presentation by the proposed Daly City property, the Base Business Improvement District. Oh, you know what?
Do we have to? Minutes?
Well, we missed, the last meeting. I'm so sorry, yeah. Apologies, we have to approve the last meeting's minutes. It's okay. Yeah, so if everyone can review our last meeting minutes, which were July 10th. And we'll do an approval of the minutes.
Move to approve?
All right, do I get a motion?
Yeah, motion to approve?
Second?
Aye, second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, the minutes have been approved. Now we can get to the presentation. Thank you.
So this is Nathan Ulsh from Community Strong Strategies with his colleague Cindy, who we procured to help us form our P-bid, and they're going to go over what a P-bid is and what that process looks like.
Good afternoon, evening, excuse me. Chair and Commissioners. My name is Nathan Olsch. I'm a partner at Community Strong Strategies. This is Cindy Fung. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miss Cindy.
And we were contracted, as mentioned, with the Daly City to look at a feasibility and possible formation of a property-based improvement district, PBID. With us, again, today is Community Strong Strategies. Who we don't have is actually Civitas. They are also part of our contract, a sub-consultant that looks at the legal formation process of it, and that'll be phase two that we'll describe a little later in the presentation. So as a PBID, there's two functions that we'll explain here, but we're going to be very focused on PBIDs, which is a property-based improvement district. And essentially, it's an assessment on business or property owners, or both, depending on the assessment methodology, that looks to improve the commercial corridor or business outlook for a specific confined area. Think about it as kind of like a commercial HOA. This is not new. This has been around for decades, so we're not presenting something that's a pilot. This has been proven and tested over the course of several decades throughout the United States, but it actually originated out of Canada. And so we brought it here. It's now an international model that's used that looks at private capital, and it's a public-private partnership at the end of the day with the government and our private parties. So a couple examples, City of Sacramento has about 8, San Francisco has 16, Long Beach has 11, Morgan Hill, Richmond, those will be examples that we'll provide a little later. Los Angeles has 40, New York has 76. So there's well over 2,500 at this point. In the United States. So as mentioned, there's two different models. I'll briefly go over the bid, but we're going to again focus on the PBID, the property-based property and business improvement district. So in the bid or the business improvement district model, we're looking at assessing business owners. And typically you're going to be looking at a type of business or the annual revenue, employee count, and you're going to create a nexus, if you will, between those benchmarks and a fee that gets associated with that. Typically you're looking at pedestrian activity often. The second, the latter that we're going to focus on is actually the PBID, the property base. And that's going to be looking at lot size or square footage, front linear footage, or some type of zoning or code use. We won't go into explicit detail, but just get the concepts and we'll move along here. So the benefits of a PBID traditionally have been found, and there are studies about this, that they reduce blight and increase either property values or sales of a business and safety. That's the main function of these. And they provide supplemental services. They don't supplant city services. That's very important because just because a PBID is providing additional services, you can't remove the police department, for example. It's illegal to do so from that specific area of interest of which is being invested in. The big important thing here also is it's focused on a boundary area. It's an assessment, not a tax. So a tax would go in, for example, into the general fund, or if it's earmarked for a specific purpose. This actually goes right back to the property-based improvement district. So there's going to be a board that would be created. We're actually looking at formalizing a steering committee as we speak. So we're going to be asking for your help to possibly identify some members that you think would qualify. And then looking at creating a board ultimately based on that. So there'd be a nonprofit that would be formed if we decide to form a PBID, and then associated with that's going to be creating a nonprofit, an entity, probably a 501c6, that would then have a board of directors that would manage the funds and services. So some of the other services to be included, clean and safe. This is typically a vast majority of the budget, or at least half of the budget, because it's typically labor intensive. So graffiti abatement, pressure washing, trash debris cleaning. We're looking at elements to make it feel safer, more clean, if you will. So security patrols also come with that. You can hire off-duty officers or private security. You'll often see this in areas where they also hire ambassadors and so forth to let people know this is a safe place to come shop, dine, et cetera. And then you have the liaison support. Oftentimes these PBIDs hire staff. It might be an executive director, an assistant of some sort that would respond to what the board's needs are and coordinate with the city or the county or other jurisdictional functions to provide what it is that you need for that specific district. The other part, as you all know, second, right? Annual, beautiful. Top of the Hill Festival is coming up. I gotta say, the branding is on point. Cindy and I walked, we came into Daly City, we're based out of San Jose, but came in Daly City and we're like, this is everywhere. You can't miss it. The banners on the poles, you got all the material collateral here, and as was provided to us, we got a stack of some items to hand out to businesses as we continue engaging. But special events is a big one. Annual events, something that you think can be supported both from the private sector, but again, from the public entity that is willing to support, attracts investment, increases exposure of the site. So again, we want to bring eyes and attention and foot traffic to these areas. This augments those opportunities by virtue of marketing and branding. So the banners, for example, decorations, you'll often see things like this, banners in particular, some wayfinding elements as well. So utility boxes, for example, can be used, like the one in the bottom middle. But also, as we start looking into beautification and gateways into this space, as you know, in a map that we'll pull up in a little bit, we go right up to the city of San Francisco. That's considered a gateway coming into the city of Daly City in particular. So we want to make that beautiful. We have a nice monument out there, but that's kind of it. What else can we do to spruce it up to make it more inviting as you're coming into Daly City and looking for a place to eat, shop, hang out for a little bit? The other part is going to be focusing on art. We do murals. You could do Chalk It Up on the bottom right. That's actually a Sacramento initiative where they go out and they chalk it up. They look for sponsors and they beautify the sidewalks with art. The top right and the bottom left are actually from San Jose, projects that I personally worked on with intimate knowledge. And so the top right in particular is our planters that were donated by a developer. They were beige, kind of ugly looking thingies, we'll call it. We did a weekend volunteer event, painted them up, and created this gateway into the SOFA district near downtown, in the downtown sector. And then the Pocket Park, there's a capital improvement that we worked on. We did a Pocket Park with a dilapidated vacant lot. The property owner allowed us to do a lease agreement. We decided to put some PBID funding into this, leverage it with some other partnerships, and created a nonprofit, demonstration garden with a nonprofit and then a dog park on the other side, because we have so many residents that live in the area. And so when you're thinking about your city and where the growth opportunities are, how can we start compounding some of these opportunities into something more? So again, benefits really focus on sales and property tax revenue, increase foot traffic, safety, exposure. There was a study, and we could email this over to Maybell to forward over, but there was a study that was done, and this is during the pandemic, so the data is a bit skewed in some capacity here. But essentially, what they found was several case studies that supported creating PBIDs and really renewing them as they come up for renewals ever so often, 3, 5, or 10 years typically. Decreases blight, vacancies, and crime. So here's a quick snippet of the map. Through Maybell's feedback, but also the business community's feedback, we've determined that this is probably going to be the preliminary, if not final, boundaries of the space. So the far top right, that's your gateway that we were referencing coming into Daly City from San Francisco. And then you work your way down towards Hillside Boulevard, and that's going to be towards the bottom of where we're thinking on the south end of the district. Part of tonight's, we'll call it informational study or study session here, is to get feedback from you all as well. Do you think this is where the boundary should be? Should it be shorter, longer? Are we going in the right direction here? So I'm going to pass it to Cindy here, who's going to give an update on some outreach that we've done and next steps in that regard. So.
Thank you, Nathan. I'll walk us through our current outreach efforts so far in Daly City, to explain why we've approached it in our outreach and our current where are we standing right now and our next steps. How do I?
Oh yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
That's a Gen Z right there. You just figured.
Yeah.
I got this.
So a property-based improvement district really relies on property owners' engagement, as they are the ultimate decision maker that will decide if this project move forward or not. So our top priority is to engage and connect with as many as property owners as possible. And throughout this process, we do business walk, which is essentially boots on the ground, knocking on doors, and having direct conversation, face-to-face conversation with the business owner. And the reason why is that business owner oftentimes act as a bridge to the property owners, and it's also really beneficial to keep them in the loop, and because they might be indirectly impacted by this, as some property owners might pass the assessment fee as an increased cost to the business owners, and they're also operating on the ground on a daily basis. They have great insights into like what are the priority and needs of the area. So they could also give us inputs on how we should forward with our project. And to make sure that our outreach was accessible, we have provided translated materials in Spanish, Chinese, Arabic, and Vietnamese. And we also have in-language support. We have Spanish, Vietnamese, and Chinese. And we have done 2 business walk so far. So the first round of business walk, we outreached to 70 businesses, and we collected around 40 business owners and property owners' information. And on our second round, we talked to 85 businesses, and we collected 20 to 30 more new business owner and property owners' contact information. And since the last business walk, we have sent out follow-up emails and phone calls to trying to further our conversations, trying to answer any question that might have. And throughout this process, we're also actively looking for steering committee members to see who will be willing to volunteer their time to be more involved and provide more insight into leading this project. And some of the trends that we heard throughout our conversations. So from the previous map, so from the top right, closer to city border to almost Wellington Avenue. So these businesses definitely express more concern around homelessness and cleanliness issues. And this is a very common thing across cities. And within the PBID service, we could design to respond to these, such as having supplemental cleaning services on top of what the city is currently providing, or even hiring ambassador to connect the homeless people with necessary resources. And from the little top of the hill to down the district, So further away from the border, the businesses that we talk to definitely have more interest in marketing and activations to bring more visibility and foot traffic into the area. As we were walking during our first walk, Maybell were able to join us, and we passed out some flyers. They were able to identify the event that happened last year and told us that it was actually great for them because it brought in a lot of like foot traffic for especially food and retail businesses. But it also brought up one issues around parking because some of the service businesses that doesn't benefit as much as the food and retail from the increased foot traffic might be taken away from the already limited parking spaces. So that is definitely one of the common issues. And that said, so for our next step, we will continue to do possibly one more business walk to fill in any gaps that we see, and also to send out follow-up emails, trying to connect with key property owners with bigger percentages in the area to have one-on-one conversations.
Awesome.
Turn back to Nathan.
Thank you, Cindy. All right, so as Cindy was alluding to, there's themes throughout the work that we do. We work throughout the state of California, NorCal, SoCal, and our function is to engage with the community and figure out what the needs are. And oftentimes, as I alluded to and stated, clean and safe becomes the highest priority typically in these PBIDs. It's also the highest cost. So as you start looking at the revenue, I pulled up 3 examples. This is one from Morgan Hill, where we think the budget's going to be possibly similar. We're looking at 3 different budget scenarios. We're looking about 200, 250 to 350 to up to $500,000, 500,000, based on whatever the assessment methodology comes to prove of whatever the business and property owner community needs are. So as we're evaluating that in this process, clean and safe comes out as number 1. Then typically you have capital improvements and or marketing taken number 2, depending what the priorities are. We're also looking at, on that note, let me go back really quick. We're looking at possibly 2 different zones as well. So the assessment rates would be a little different, and or the services might be a little, might be disparate between the 2. As Cindy was saying, marketing on the bottom, the other half, we'll call it the south half, and then going north, east, we're looking at more cleanliness. Power washing, for example, is probably needed, and a few other things that require some blight reduction, as opposed to more of a, we'll call it proactive marketing, branding, activation scenario. But ideally, over the course of several years of creating this PBID, they kind of start conflating, and you start having less clean and safe or more clean and safe, depending what the need is, because higher foot traffic, if you have more events and so forth, this might be one annual event, but maybe you want to put another annual event, or a quarterly event might be smaller, more hyper-focused in a specific area, or it's the whole district. So more people, more foot traffic equals more cleaning, if you will. So that being said, on the bottom is the assessment methodology. So throughout this process, what we're doing is we're evaluating based on the feedback from the property owners and some of the business owners is what seems like a reasonable assessment rate to get us to where we're going. So what we're doing is we're taking a couple different scenarios, as I mentioned, 250, 350, 500,000, and reverse engineering out and going, can those pay for the services that are being requested based on the feedback we're receiving? So for example, here, 250,000, 150 of that's related to clean and safe. Do we think that same budget could qualify here in Daly City, or will we need to increase that based on the services that need to be delivered in this space? Same thing with capital improvements and so forth. So you'll see on the bottom again, commercial square foot, per square foot, it's 15 cents. You got 10 cents in this scenario. And we stagger them based on qualifications. So as I mentioned at the very beginning, depending on business type or land use type or whatever the type might be that we want to nexus this to, we have commercial, nonprofit, sometimes if there's government property that can be assessed as well, or residential, like condos or apartments, those might be in there as well. I don't think we have any here. But per square foot, we are looking at 10, 20, 30, 40 cents a square foot, and then depending, maybe we want to do front lineage assessment as well to get to the number that we think is reasonable. So you have Richmond and then Redwood City. So this one's on the higher scale. So this is about $1 million for what they're doing. And so you're going to see the assessment rates are a little different. You got front lineage there. Oh, sorry, they didn't do it on those other ones. But street frontage, linear frontage, it's $9.50 per foot, $9.50 per foot, and you'll see it probably staggers around throughout the whole corridor there. But then they have a formula where they're adding building area, land area, and then if they're residential condo, square footage, there's a separate assessment for that as well. So there's a myriad of ways that we can maneuver this. And then what we want to do is once we form the steering committee, they're going to be the guiding principle, if you will, to this process moving forward. They need to tell us what they want, and then we go do the formula, the math, and then we bring it back and go, does this look correct? And then through that process, what will happen is if we feel like there is an opportunity to move this process forward, we're going to be assessing and providing a feasibility report saying, yes, move forward with this, or B, do not move forward with this because we don't feel like we have the support. What I mean by support is we're going to need 50 plus 1% or 50.1% or more of the folks saying, yes, we want to see this happen based on their assessment, the aggregate assessment. So for example, if we're looking to assess $500,000, we need $251,000 saying yes in support of, or if it's opposed, if it's 249 saying yes, that doesn't allow us to proceed with the ballot in that process. So there's a petition and ballot phase. It goes out for petition. If we get 50 plus 1%, then it moves to ballot. And we do another vote, if you will, to move this process forward. So right now, we're in the feasibility stage. We started in July 1. We've been doing outreach, as Cindy mentioned, really robust outreach in different languages. Cindy speaks Chinese, I speak Spanish, Deanna from my team speaks Spanish, and we have some sub-consultants that speak other languages as well, including Vietnamese and Arabic. So we want to be sure what we heard from Maybell is, here's the languages I need help with. We said, okay, we'll deploy those in the areas that meet that demand. We got some feedback from folks, and now we're heading into September, where we're looking at the steering committee formation. This is the next priority for us. Now that we've hit over 100 businesses, we want to say, who wants to be part of this process? We are prioritizing the property owners at the current moment because they are going to be the ones being assessed. But we do include business, and at times we do include residents that might have some influence on this process, either knowing businesses or having insight into this process. So steering committee is going to be formed. We're going to continue one more outreach effort, make sure that we've dotted our I's, crossed our T's, and then we're going to really start looking at the priorities and budgeting, what we call assessment methodology, so assessment scenarios. Where do we feel like there's going to be the most support? Maybe it is on the lower tier of 250, maybe it's on the higher end at 500,000, they feel that that's feasible. And then we're going to draft a management district plan. That's a legal document that's required through Prop 218 and the Property-Based Improvement District law that will be set up for review, and that essentially puts the guidelines as how we're going to move forward with what assessment methodology. We'll do public outreach, meaning probably a town hall of some form or fashion, to make sure that everybody's on the same page and is aware that this is happening. Probably include a mailing of some sort, say, let's meet here to talk about the final proposal that we're going to put before council at some point, and make sure that everybody's in agreement, or at least we get consensus. And then we'll finalize the feasibility report, submit that, and say yay or nay. We're going to move forward or we're not. Phase 2 would kick off at the beginning of the year, probably beginning of Q1, if not late Q1, in January. We'd finalize the MDP, and then we do it's called an engineer's report. Again, we need to provide how we're assessing by law, how we're assessing these parcels, and how does that go back to the benefit of the property owners. So as we do that, we'd prepare petitions. Those would have everybody's assessment rate on them. They'd go to each individual property owner, and it would have their assessment rate, what they'd be paying, and if they support or oppose it. And then we go to ballot if that moves forward. So we have petition kickoff starting in February. If everything goes well, we need about 3 months for it to process, get all the votes in. Then it would go to council. If that passes in April, ballots would be sent out of the city clerk's office. Nobody gets to see them. It's a sealed ballot. Goes out for votes, and then it comes back to council in June, and there would be a live tally of whether this passes or not based on that. So that pretty much wraps up our presentation. Thank you. I appreciate your time tonight. But yeah, any questions, feedback, thoughts? We're here to listen. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. I'll just start by saying, as a resident of the top of the hill area of Daly City, this is very exciting and definitely very welcomed. And I have also, I enjoy the businesses that are in the area, whether it's like the food spots or my young girls go to a nail salon right around the corner. So we're in the mix,
Yeah.
and I have heard from many business owners concerns about crime, cleanliness. You also mentioned that area is like the gateway. It actually technically is the gateway to the peninsula, which is I think the Daly City saying, yeah. but it also means it's like the end of the line of the 14 bus from from San Francisco.
heard.
So
Yep.
we got a lot of interesting characters at
Yep.
points.
Yep, yep.
So yeah, I mean, this is definitely very welcome. And thank you, Mabel, for getting them to present today. I have so many questions, but I'm trying to prioritize which ones I want to ask. I know right now the big thing. I mean, I was looking at your timeline, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
I'll go back.
yeah, thank you. By the end of the year, we should have those things, but the steering committee formation specifically, and a part of me is just like, we're already almost halfway through September.
Yep. Yep.
And then, I start feeling like people check out around November and December. So what's the actual current state of the steering committee? Do we have anyone right now, or is
Not
it like-
officially.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got some interest from property owners, some business owners, but we haven't officially met.
Okay.
We'll be a little aggressive on this one. Typically, we will meet monthly. We'll probably meet every other week.
Okay.
To catch up, if you will.
Yeah.
Because we're at the stage, the outreach is pretty much complete. Now we're just making phone calls to property owners who may not have been responsive, or with the businesses in particular, we're hoping that they would be able to give us access to the property owners, since we don't have direct contact with them. Not all of that information, as I think everybody knows here, is not public. So there's certain data points we could pull from CoStar, but that doesn't guarantee that we're going to get immediate
Right.
action. Yeah.
In terms of the actual process, is it some sort of application that they would go through,
Yeah,
or is
great
it
question.
just I want to become a steering committee?
Yeah,
member?
so we'll help determine if they would be a good person. Usually, it's very rare that they go, I want to be part of this. It's often us going, you'd be a great candidate. Can you be part of
okay.
this?
And there's no like actual formal
no,
application.
no,
okay,
not
all
for
right,
this
That's
one.
great.
Yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah.
I was just like
Yeah.
hoping there wasn't, just because it feels like that's going to take too much time
Yeah,
to
it
go
would.
through that. And then I think just the last couple questions around that was just like, if you could speak a little bit more around qualifications, which it sounded like, of course, you want the property owners, but you're also open to like residents as well as like business owners.
Yeah, yeah.
But related to that is like, what is the actual commitment for them? And then I'm just assuming this is like a purely volunteer thing, right?
It is. The steering committee meetings, we typically hold for about an hour. And again, what we're looking for is feedback. They give us feedback, we go back and crunch numbers and do what we do, and then we come back and we go, does this look better? And we're constantly trying to refine it to get it to a point to January when we go, hey, Maybell, we're ready to go. Or we go, Maybell, we're not ready. We need to refine a little more. And so that's going to be the determinant factor. That's what we're looking for in qualifications, if you will. Do they understand what we're trying to accomplish? And B, can they provide feedback in this process? Typically, again, an hour a meeting roughly. Sometimes they're a half hour, sometimes even shorter, depending what we need for feedback purposes. But typically, hour a month, maybe 2 hours a month if we're doing every other week for meetings. In this case, as soon as we get a few people locked in, we're looking about 5 to 10 members just to keep things going. And we're typically going to be looking for property owners that are big property owners, typically is what we're going to be looking for at the onset, who would have some influence on this process.
Okay.
In that area, right?
Yeah. Throughout that, we have a couple big property owners in this space that we've discussed bringing in as soon as possible, because their assessment, we got folks in the 9% range. When I'm talking about going to 50%, some of these folks hold as high as 9% of a vote based on the square footage and what they'd be paying in assessments.
Okay.
And that goes down to about like 0.5, if you will.
Great. That was one of my questions.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
I think just I'll open it up to the other commissioners. I'm like,
Yeah, no problem.
but come back. We'll
No, we're good.
have some questions on the budget.
It's great. No, this is why we're here.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know if, hello, check. Hello? All right. For me, what comes up to me is, property owners thinking, well, we pay taxes now, and then now I got to do an assessment fee.
Yeah.
That's what's coming in my head.
Yep.
I would love this idea, because we just talked about it a couple, month or two ago, about, hey, we need to have opportunities to improve the business area. But I guess, and that would probably be your expertise on how to
Yeah.
show them how this works, with what they're currently paying for their own business taxes or property taxes. And now we're putting this upon them, and what would be the benefits in the return.
Yeah, thank you. And great questions overall. Thank you, Chair. So a part of our job is to educate, and that's what we're doing in this process, is to say, hey, this is what the opportunity is presenting itself, the city's investing in this. I mean, this is the city's money right now. So we want to be sure that they understand that the city's invested first and foremost. Secondly, exactly to your point, Cindy was mentioning this. Oftentimes, a lot of these agreements lease agreements are triple net. And so there is a conversation between the property owner and the business owner of, hey, this is going to get passed on to you. The business owner is 99% of the time the end user of these services. So if it is the police department, some PBIDs create something to the effect of like a homeless impact team as well, where if we do have a lot of unhoused individuals, they'll actually hire somebody that has the capability to help homeless people get services, work with the county, all that kind of stuff. So when we're talking about this with the property owners, we're looking at the net benefits and how the ROI comes back to them and their property, which ultimately typically increases property values, increases sales for that specific business, et cetera. But there is a conversation that is had with the property owner and then the property owner to the business owner saying, this is probably going to increase your rent, but it's a net positive at the end of the day.
Cool.
So, just so I can wrap my head around it a little bit more,
Yeah.
the budget comes from investors.
Comes from the property owners.
Comes from the
So,
property
yeah,
owner,
each one of
so-
these parcels are associated with a property owner.
Okay.
Each one of these parcels are going to pay, it's like a commercial HOA, if you will. So kind of like a CAMS for the commercial real estate term, but it's an HOA where everybody's paying in a little bit, and the money that they're paying into goes right back to this district. It doesn't go to the general fund. It doesn't pay for other city services. It goes right back to these folks,
That
and the
area.
board determines how they want to spend that money. So if they're like, we want to spend half of our money on clean and safe, whether it's PD, a beautification, whatever that thing is, they determine it, and that's actually started by the steering committee. So the steering committee is actually very important because they're going to help guide the first year plus in this process to say, here's what the priorities are. And sometimes, as we were talking about, one side might have different priorities than another side, but we're finding a balance where we go, okay, we know this area needs these services, but this area actually wants these other services. So there's a constant communication back and forth.
Got it. No, that makes perfect sense. When did downtown Richmond get done?
Oh, they just renewed recently, I believe. It's at least 10 years ago at this point.
Ago. I'm actually from Richmond, so when I saw that, and I know the area
Whoops.
pretty well, and I haven't been there in a while, so I'd be interested to see what
Yeah.
it looks like now.
And the telltale sign of these districts, you'll see the banners. It's like the first and foremost thing that you start, you drive through and you go, oh, banners. This must be some type of business district, whether it's a bid or a P-bid, et cetera. And then you'll often see cleaner streets. You'll see ambassadors. You'll see some function of uniformity in that district. And that's really the important part of this as well, is it's a cohesive, unified business community where you have advocacy also coming from a group of individuals as opposed to one person saying, hey, I got a problem here, and squeaky wheel, if you will. But the more powerful side of this that's not quantified, if you will, is the advocacy side of having a board and having the board meetings where you have oftentimes what we encourage, and we're part of these oftentimes, is bring the lieutenant or the captain into the meetings, bring in any official from the city that might have some information, some feedback, some updates. Maybell would probably be at these every meeting, for example, that would say, hey, from OE, Office of Economic Development, Top of the Hill's coming up. Be sure to push this out. Let's work together. So there's a common theme here of let's work in unified community, and that's often what these do by virtue of.
Yeah, no, I like it. Because I know that this part of Richmond was pretty rough for a while. So I'd be really interested, from a safety perspective, really interested to see what the turnaround was.
Yeah. We didn't work on this project, but we could probably get some data for you if you're interested.
Got it. Yeah. But thank you for the presentation. It was
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah. Sorry, I went through it pretty quick. I want to make sure that we got through it and then come back to questions. So apologies.
I think one of the other questions I had, and thank you for the information on the budget, because that
Oh, yeah,
actually
yeah.
helps
Yeah,
clarify it.
absolutely.
You can pull back the map.
Oh, yeah.
There's a little plot of land right on the corner of Hillside, Mission, and John Daly. So it's that corner that's like, it's one of the ugliest things about that neighborhood.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, it's dead, just
Yep.
a bunch of weeds.
Yep.
Do
Know
we
exactly
know
what
who
you're talking
owns that? And is that the city's at this point? Okay, so that will just, I guess, get bundled in and beautified on some level. I mean, it's just like a
Yeah.
chain link fence.
So that's a
There's
good
bus
point.
stop on one side.
Yeah, that's a good point. So the government agencies will have to pay into the assessment as well.
Okay.
Nobody's excluded. So nonprofits will have to pay housing, will have to pay multifamily, I should say, and then government agencies. And we could stagger this where if, like, for example, if it is a vacant lot, we can actually reduce the assessment or give a discounted rate because there's no real pedestrian activity happening at that site. But knowing that it might get developed in the future, we might want to keep the rate at a reasonable commercial rate, we'll call it. So, but depending on what the city chooses to do with it, the PBID could have some sway possibly of activating that site. It actually would be a pretty cool pilot place to maybe have like a quarterly block party or something of that in that space that the PBID could invest in as part of this.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and then I think just a couple of other points around top of the hill. So Daly City, of course, doesn't have your traditional downtown sort of
Right.
area. So
This is your downtown.
yeah, exactly. So I'm like,
Yeah.
that would be so cool if this could turn into that.
Yeah.
But not to go back to like the negatives or like the challenges, but
Yeah, it's good.
I'm curious on like if you've ever dealt with this, but like, you know, again, I sort of brought up like the beautification, the fact that it's like right there on the border of San Francisco.
Yep.
And, you know, we have the 14 that stops right there.
Yep. Yep.
What does that actually look like? Is, you know, I mean, San Francisco has its own issues, and I've seen what San Francisco's done. Unfortunately, not that effectively. No. And I guess in a lot of areas, I've been seeing some effectiveness in some areas, but like I know they had like the community ambassador program for a while, and that I thought was actually pretty cool. But I think my question is like the fact that we are on the border, and this literally, like you said, is the gateway, and it is the border. Fun fact: half my street is San Francisco, the other half where I live is.
Oh, you're one of those
Daly-
parcels.
Like, you know, San Francisco. Daly City.
Yeah.
But I
do you
tell
know
people-
do you know where you officially live? I mean,
Yeah,
you're here, so you got to be.
Well, I tell folks I was able to afford it. I'm on the
So
Daly
you're on
City
the-
side, yeah. But that being said, like, you know, I'm sort of curious, like, how does that work
Yeah.
being on the border? And is there any, you know, I don't know if the word's collaboration or
Yeah.
sort of like
Yeah.
infusion with like what San Francisco's doing or what you've done with San Francisco versus the Daly City side?
Yeah, great question. So the PBID, we can't actually encroach on other jurisdictions without their consent. So literally in the pavement, as you know, you could see where the city lines, the limits end and begin. That's going to probably be your border here as well. So you're going to have a clear delineation. Between two jurisdictions, I'm going to defer to Maybell and other city staff on that, but I don't know what that partnership looks like. There could be something if you choose to go that route. But from a gateway perspective, I'm looking at power washing, pressure washing. I'm looking at the dumpster or the trash bins, PLCs, public litter cans, as also an avenue of the more you have those out, the more likely people are going to throw stuff in. That's not always guaranteed. But ideally, people would use them, and then you'd have your clean and safe team come in and cleaning them out every week or what have you. Alongside that, the blight reduction, what we do see is between graffiti, cigarette butts, trash debris that collects on the curbside, specifically near bus stops, can be picked up through the clean and safe crew that you decide to hire. So there'd be a contractor that could come in. There's a few different nationally recognized entities that do this for a living that could come and be hired on your behalf and, you know, do cleanup once a week, twice a week, whatever you think the frequency is to get that going. And then you can modify that as you see fit throughout that process. So maybe it's a deep cleaning for a month or two, and then you just go to a weekly cleanup or, whatever it is that you think is best.
And then it might be too early, but I was going to say,
It's good.
so unfortunately, the Walgreens that was there
Yep.
also closed down
Yep.
pretty recently, which personally kind of sucked. But, I think in all seriousness now, folks need medicine or need their prescriptions. They have to go up to like Westlake or to another spot. What's the plan for that? And have we been in touch with the property owners of that spot? And again, this is like one of those things where I drive by or I'll walk by and I'm like, it's, they already put up the fences and just it's starting to look a little scary in there.
It was recently purchased and they leased it to Grocery Outlet.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Cool. Yeah. I'll also just say one last comment. I think it was one of the commissioners, we were talking about, what is it, the string lights across
Oh, yeah.
on.
Oh, yeah,
on
yeah,
Mission,
yeah.
Which I thought was an awesome idea.
Yeah.
But I know that's going to be a little tough because Mission is owned by the state, so.
Right, that's something.
Well, unless it's private property, that's a good point. I didn't have it in the slide deck, but string lights is kind of another
Thing.
telltale sign. Yeah, especially like downtowns, if this is your downtown, old town type
It just
vibe.
changes the vibe.
Exactly, 100%. And so when you get those lights up, and they don't have to be on city right of way, and Maybell, is the sidewalks public? Because some cities are, the property owners, I don't know the city,
It's public, but
okay,
Caltrans owns,
the public, but the building itself,
not the building, but
okay.
everything
So there could
else.
be an avenue where you could install through the PBID budget, some lighting beautification that goes with that along the buildings or where it's not public, where it's private. You could do stuff like that. That's been done.
I love the language you just said, like the old town, because it really is like so historic. And, you know, frankly, it's like, it's one of those things where if you stand on the corner of Mission and San Jose and you kind of just look at that
Yep.
triangle and it just goes all the way down.
Yep, yep.
It would be nice to like look at it and, you know, feel proud that it's such a,
And it looks
has
nice,
so
I
much
mean,
potential, like.
Yeah, if it's done right, I mean, it looks nice, you know,
Yeah.
when you walk down. And yeah, I don't have, Willow Glen does one really, you know, Willow Glen and a couple other cities. Willow Glen and San Jose, they have, you know, decorative stuff. It's more of a, they did a road diet, you know, a while back. So it came from 6 lanes to 2 lanes, or three, I guess technically. But they got string lights and they do decorations for the holidays. They put wreaths up during, you know, the Christmas holidays, if you will. And then
Yeah.
they have a beer and bubbly wine walk. And they've done really well from a programming standpoint. So Top of the Hill's kind of the beginning of the beginning here.
We even have our own museum there, like on the other side. So anyways, yeah, well, thank you so much for
yeah.
your presentation and yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the last question I was going to say for me was there anything else that we can do to support you all through
you.
this process?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, of course. And maybe I'll feel free to chime in. If you have any contacts with property owners, business owners, I think we're good. Now it's just trying to get elevated to the property owners. And so,
And those commercial property owners,
correct.
not the residential.
yeah, correct. Thank
Okay.
you for the clarification. Yes. So we're looking in that whole district wide. If you know any of these folks, whoops, my bad. Anybody on any of these parcels who own the property, that's our drive right now, is we really need to your point, Chair, of getting the steering committee going. We really want to identify 3 to 4 strong candidates that would, A, be open to understanding this, getting educated, and then going out and talking to their peers about it. Because that's really the most powerful tool. It's not us, it's not the consultant. Sometimes it's the city, but it's really your peer property owners in who are saying, hey, this is really great opportunity for us. So that's what we're aiming for, is if we can get the steering committee, educate them quickly, and then have them go out as ambassadors, if you will, to talk about it. We want to do that sooner than later. So yeah, if you know anybody, or even a business owner that trusts you, that knows the property owner, our next wave of contacts is actually going to be reaching out to the brokers of the properties and just, hey, we need to get a hold of the property owner. Is this something that you think they'd be interested in hearing about? So,
Great.
yeah.
I'm
And
curious
even business
why the bottoms, the south half, stop right there and doesn't go all the way down towards land of El Camino, by Mission El Camino.
Yeah, great question.
They don't need it as much. They don't need it as much.
They don't need it as much. Okay, got it.
Yeah, we're building off of actually something that Maybell led last year around the Leadership Council. So the San Mateo County Leadership Council, they did some preliminary work for us, quite frankly, that said, you know, here's where we think things could start and end. We looked at it and we said, yeah, that seems reasonable.
Right.
So at some point, you do have to cut off the district. And then the question becomes, I think to your question and Maybell's point is, who really needs the services? At the end of what are we trying to do, I guess, from that perspective? And the gateways, I think the crucial part is people come in, you want them to go, oh, this is nice. I want to park here and, you know, eat something or hang out for the night. And then start looking at the really great thing about PBIDs is now you get new tenants coming in, right? You get things that start filling the gaps and you go, hey, let's go to this boutique and now let's go grab a yogurt. You know, right down the road. So you want that walkability factor. You have the parking for the most part. Now it's like, what's the next pieces that you need? It's the clean and safe beautification, getting the right tenants in moving forward. So that's going to be, next 5-10 years if this gets approved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great.
Am I hearing, Amro, you want to be a part of the steering committee?
I would love to, yeah. I can't promise that I have a lot of contacts in terms of like the property. I mean, that, as you were saying that, I was like, that sounds kind of tough.
Yeah.
But
you live in the area.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I think that's
Without putting my my address out there, I am there. And I do frequent many of the businesses in the area.
Great. Yeah.
And I kind of know the brokers, but it's been a while since I've been in contact with some of them. So, but yeah, I would love to pitch in or help out. So absolutely.
Perfect. All right, maybe we'll do an email intro to us.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe. Want me to close this out? Okay.
All right, that was exciting. Discussion around the informational update, the daily city purchasing policy and local business preferences. Sounds like we have some developing news there, so.
Yes, yes. I know that this commission is very interested in this. I know that a lot of people are coming to you about this still and have been. So just historically, I don't want to go over it too much because we've all been in the conversations about what we could do to be more inclusive on our procurement ordinance. So with meeting with the city attorney, city manager, and finance director, we could split this initiative into two. So the procurement ordinance amendments will be separate, but what we could do now, I'm all about the lowest hanging fruit and can we grab it right away and just keep pushing along. So the lowest hanging fruit was our purchasing policy, which is different from our procurement ordinance. The purchasing policy is under the authority of the city manager, and he acts as our city's purchasing agent. And anything within the authority of the city manager is now going to go through this local business first policy. And it's an administrative implementation, meaning we don't have to go to council to get this approved. So anything issued under the city manager's authority pursuant to that code, to the DC Muni Code, introduces a scoring preference for business licenses and that are licensed and physically located in Daly City, applies to competitive solicitations valued over 25,000, and then city attorney actually created this matrix where the local business preference will get 10 points additional. So if it's someone outside of the city versus this one, they would get 10 additional points regardless. So the current status is that it's effective administratively on a pilot basis. And any reporting or tracking methodology will be implemented with finance before, we'll coordinate tracking mechanisms before implementation. And the proposed ordinance amendments, the procurement ordinance amendments, still remain under discussion and will require council approval to codify it in our Muni Code. So that adoption would expand this current purchasing policy and into a broader procurement policy framework. And obviously, it's an economic development tool for us to use to have broader inclusivity and supplier diversity. So we also still need to consider the legal ramifications for the other categories that we've been discussing, the WBE and MBE, unfortunately, that might get us into some hot water. But we discussed that before, but what I wanted to just present to you is that there is movement. Don't worry, we have been working, we have been discussing time over time to make sure that we put Daly City first, we put our local businesses first, and it's, obviously by way of you guys, the commission that is very much steering this and very much kind of putting the fire under us to make sure that we get this done. And then included in the report is the actual draft memo that is going to go out to department heads, division managers, and any other staff that handle purchasing and from the city manager, and it shows the actual matrix guidance and basically stating we want to put Daly City first. And again, pilot program. And then the last page is an internal compliance checklist for this purchasing policy. That's it. Any questions?
Yes. Wow, I almost want to cry. This is amazing. Like, no, seriously. Like, I think congratulations to everyone, and yeah, it was. I started getting a little worried at some point where just felt like we were talking about it, and then like, all right, we'll put it on the next agenda. So this is amazing, and I really want to acknowledge that. I do have some, I think, basic questions. The first one is the pilot program. Is it live now, or does something else need to happen for it to kick in? Meaning, like, does it happen next year, or does someone else need to, outside of the city manager? Is there some other approval, or
No,
we're live?
we're live.
Wow. Okay.
This just needs to be sent out
Okay,
to the department heads to let them know
Amazing. Okay.
we are live.
That's so cool. Wow. All right. And then maybe this hopefully will be a very simple question, but just to get it on record, is like, so I see applies to competitive solicitations, RFPs and RFQs valued over 25,000 up to, is there?
That's a great question,
Yeah.
Chair Amro. It's up to currently 129, so it's 10% of our whole budget.
Wow. Okay.
So if the city has 129 million, 10% of that is 129,000.
Wow.
And that was just changed because we were at 75 for quite a while, and it has to go back to council to change every single time. And
Right.
as time goes, the dollar value goes down, inflation goes up, blah, blah, blah. So we had to create a mechanism so that we didn't have to go back to council each and every time we wanted to increase this. So they just said 10% of the budget. And so once the budget increases, we increase the maximum for the RFP.
This is amazing. The only other thing I want is like a framed copy of this matrix. But yeah, thank you. And thank you, Mabel, for pushing this through with us. Yeah, congratulations, commissioners.
Long road. It's been a long road.
Yes. Yeah. Kudos to everyone that was part of it, from city attorney to the finance director. Obviously, because this is not hard. This is not easy to do, right? And then, like the scoring matrix, and I'm assuming because this is something where we can use this for the bigger project.
Yes.
Sorry. Oh. Sorry about that.
Oh, that means nobody heard you.
Nobody heard me.
Nobody heard
All right. So the light on this is not on. Just wanted to congratulate everyone that was a part of this and acknowledge all the hard work from, again, everyone that had a hand on it, from the city manager to the finance director to obviously Maybell, all the ideas that came from this group. And again, since this is like the base framework of what it can be for the bigger initiative for procurement, I'm just curious, again, how this is going to all turn out and how the process is. And I'm sure because it's brand new. And so I'm looking forward to hearing how it works once the department heads hear that there's this process now, and how they would maneuver around it or with it. So, yeah.
Any other thoughts, Commissioner?
No, just big congratulations to the team. Yeah, big congratulations. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, this is to me, a very big deal, and it just, there's times when we hold these meetings and I'm like, I wonder how effective we are on anything. So this kind of solidifies it. Actually, this is the second big win because we had our last meeting was a big win as well. So yeah, thank you again. And
Will there be some sort of communication to small businesses about this process?
that's a great question.
That is a great question. As part of my efforts to hopefully, at some point, create a more centralized place for all of our RFPs, I hope that we can advertise it on that centralized place, wherever that may be.
Yeah. Or even the social media, or you know,
Could do
it's
social
like,
media,
yeah.
definitely, or online on our website.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we
Okay.
could get it out that way.
But yeah, Daly City first. That's great.
Yay.
Okay. Next up, announcements and communications. Commissioners, anything?
I have another wellness event this Saturday, September 13th. We're calling it Crunches and Croissants. For anyone that wants to come out, have a nice little movement, workout with us. And then we have treats afterwards. 8 o'clock this Saturday, out there by the fitness courts by Dowager Center. If you want more information, go to everydaypeople.club on Instagram. And it's at 8 a.m. Hopefully we see some folks.
And I think you'll be celebrating your next round around the around the sun.
Yes. Actually, my real date of birthday was on the 9th, but I'm using this Saturday event as a way to just thank everybody for letting me in their house or their homes or their lives.
Happy birthday,
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Commissioner. Okay. I don't have any, but super excited about Top of the Hill Festival,
Yes.
which is coming up. So yeah,
Yes.
October 18th.
Yes, it's going to be big. We will definitely have overflow parking this year at City Hall and at Jefferson High School if people want to park there and take our free shuttle. We will
Amazing.
have way more food and activities this year. I also wanted to, if I may, Chair,
Yes, please.
announce Kasayahan, so Daly City, our big Filipino celebration, October 4th at Gellert Park this year, 11 to 4 a.m. We also have Pachanga, which is celebrating our Latin culture in Daly City, and that is on September 20th at Gellert Park from 11 to 3 p.m. And we have Coffee with the Chief. I don't know if you guys were able to see just outside, but the city has a new pop-up,
Yes.
Yeah.
and it's a cafe. The first tenant is a cafe, but we will be rotating our tenants. So, there might be some interest among the commissioners to be the next tenant. But we are doing Coffee with the Chief Saturday, September 7, where the chief of police will be available to discuss all things in the community that want to. The city and the cafe, Talios, will be providing free coffee and pastries, and that is 9 to 11 on Saturday, September 27.
And that's coffee provided by Talios, right? That's the pop-up right now. Okay.
That's,
great.
yes, correct.
Yep. Great coffee, by the way. So
Great coffee.
okay, unless there's any other announcements, communications, we'll go to public comment. None? Okay, and seeing that we don't have anyone here for public comment, I will go ahead and adjourn. Thank you. Thank you all.
Good job, guys.
Great.